Ah, it's cold out. I don't know if anybody's even on here yet. I don't have anybody. Showing 0. Yep. I'm live. Let's wait to see if anybody gets on here. If you're on here watching and it hasn't shown me that there's somebody on, leave me a comment. Let me know. I feel like I'm getting old. Only 37, but I feel like I'm aging fast. I don't know. I'm in my shop, if you can't tell. Oh, we got 2 people. Should we get going once we get 5? Good evening, Hal. How you doing? I'm working on a engine, 3-liter and a Ranger tonight. It's for a friend of mine. It's for his son's turning 16, I think in a month. He picked this Ranger up for about, I think it was $2,000 with the replacement engine, but just needed it replaced, so I could do it. Good to hear, Hal. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else I need to do to this thing. Waiting on the radiator. Well, Hal, we only got one. Only you. Should we go ahead and start? I think we probably should. Let me see if I can find some stuff here. Use kind of like props. That way I have actual visuals that you can see. I mean, the thumbnail for this video shows the ICP sensors for a 6.0. And one thing I've seen a lot of whenever people go to try to repair these themselves is they go to the parts store and they're trusting the parts store to hand them the correct part. Well, a lot of times the parts stores have even handed me the wrong part. I'm not saying I'm any different really, but I know when they hand me the part, it's the wrong part. And the ICP sensor on the 2003, 2004 6-liter with the aluminum housing high pressure pump, that has a silver ICP sensor. And I don't have any. I don't know where all of them went. That has a larger body or nut area on the ICP sensor. And that cannot be used on the 04.5 to present. Well, they're not present, but 2010 6-liters. Basically, just think of it as, well, no, I can't say that. That's wrong. If the ICP sensor is on the back of the engine, it uses one style sensor. If the ICP sensor is on the driver's valve cover, the passenger valve cover, it uses another ICP sensor. And I cannot find anything. I've got piles and piles of parts, but they're buried. Let's see that now. I'll go back over it once I find something. Another thing that you cannot swap. I've seen some companies claim that you can. The IPR, the injection pressure regulator. Some companies are saying now that you can. They have IPRs that can work from both, but I've experienced myself. I've swapped in an IPR because I thought they were all the same years ago whenever I was working at the dealership. And I had a truck that I suspected had a bad IPR. And myself and the other diesel tech, we kind of would gather known good parts. That way we had something to swap in a part to try, see if it changed anything. And we had a known good IPR, but we couldn't, I think we forgot to write down the year for it. And I swapped in, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but I put the IPR in and it was acting worse than the truck, the IPR that was in the truck. And so I took it out. I spent more time trying to diagnose it, trying to figure out what was wrong with it, and still led me to the IPR and went to parts, got the correct part number, put it in, boom, it was perfect. Well, we compared the numbers on the IPR and it was not the correct, it was a different year IPR. So you can't, especially if you're going to buy parts at a parts store or Ford, always make sure you get the correct year part. I know it's tough to tell, but the easy thing, like at a dealership, at Ford, always give them your VIN number. Most of the time they're really good about that. They're going to ask, what's your VIN number? That way they can go off the exact year that your truck is. That way they can get the correct part. But some guys still don't do that, but that's the best thing to do. What's the third one I was going to do? Oh, EGR valve. EGR valves, unless it's changed, but from my experience and looking up, you cannot use a early style EGR valve to an older, or early to later. So 03, 04, I believe, was different than 05 to 2010. And that will cause, you'll lose boost. And the valve will open when it shouldn't. Hal said, I put a 05 ICP in my 03 6.0. Well, it may be working fine, but normally what it is the way that sensor is configured, the way they design it, it does not see, or it does not report the same voltage to the computer at a specific pressure as the correct sensor would. What was I going to say? I mean, other than physically being different, they are supposed to be different internally. I've seen a lot of times I'll see the 03 ICP sensors, the ones that are supposed to be mounted on the back of the engine, put on the like an 05 or newer where they're on the valve cover, and they'll cause all kinds of weird drivability issues. It may sit there and at idle kind of chug, just doing weird stuff. And I get a ICP at intermittent loss sometimes. Maybe that could be. They're not. It's a lot of people think it's just a different looking sensor. No, it's actually internally different sensor. That is a big issue a lot of times. What else? Injectors. I'm not going to say that injectors cannot be swapped. At one time, people were saying that early 6.0 injectors in the 03, 04 could not be used and internally were different than the 05 to 2010 because they had changed some stuff. And I had some what was it? The 6.0 coffee table book. If anybody's ever seen them, I do have one. Let's see. I thought they were somewhere else, but I'm pretty sure they're right here. Yep. I have the early one. I don't know if they made a new one. Let me get it. I've got a 6.0 coffee table book. Let's see if I can show you here. Here's the 6.0. That's an early one. You can see that's the... Well, no. No, that's the old. That's the early one. It's the headlights. You can tell. And then it's showing the E series, the older E series. I've got a 6.4 as you can see there, and then I've got the 6.7. I don't know if I can show you very good, but we're not doing either of those engines. Can I switch? Nope, orientation's locked. Okay. Let's see if I can find any information on this. These were books that were handed out a lot of times when you actually went to the course with Ford. You would actually go to the class, get trained on it. They'd have usually a truck in their shop that they would simulate problems, and you'd have to diagnose and fix them. They would have an engine on a stand that you usually have to go through and replace a part. They just wanted you to basically do hands-on, kind of try to get familiar with it. The funny thing is the 6.0, I didn't experience it. I came later. I wasn't old enough or started out at an early enough date to actually be in the service department when they released the 6.0. I think I was still sweeping floors at that point. But I came later in and did plenty of warranty work on these things. And so I learned a lot of the tricks and stuff as they went on. Let's see. Well, obviously water pumps can't be. You can see right there. They're saying that it doesn't say what year, but it was increased from a 90 millimeter to 100 millimeter. So the later ones, I wonder when that was. It just says here 2004 Powerstroke features, so I don't know. Well, no, this might have been 03 to 04. Component locations, let's go. Let's learn something together, because it's been a while since I've looked at this book. Running 03 changes. Component. Okay, so these were changes that happened. So if you have even a 03, well, even if you have an 04, you may not, you may be fine. Yeah, okay, so I'd say this is 04.5. So they're saying that the cam was changed, the lobe separation angle, lobe lift, and duration have changed to improve combustion characteristics. Changes have been made to the camshaft to increase efficiency, allowing to meet tighter emissions. It is not recommended that the updated 04 camshaft be installed in an earlier version, and emissions will be impacted. I wonder what that means. Now, I wonder, with everybody talking about the 6.0 having a lot of valve train issues where they had lifter failures, I wonder if that was the 03 camshaft, or the later. I saw lifter failure here and there, but we really didn't see a lot of issues. Most of the lifter failure we saw were fleets not maintaining their trucks properly. So that was the thing. What else? Turbochargers we can swap from 03 to newer. All you really need is the pedestal. Obviously, high pressure pumps you can't swap. That's pretty obvious. The only pump you'd really want to swap to is the iron one. Good evening, Dunbar Automotive. So, let's see. It's not saying anything about injectors. Surprisingly, you can upgrade a lot. Well, the EGR cooler was different from the 03 to, they're saying 04. But I think that it was 04.5 that they did it. You can see here. It's a lot of times if you look up in parts, where's that? Where am I at here? You can see there's the square one, there's the round one. So I'd almost want to, myself, I don't know if it's legal. I need to look into it. I think it's not legal now that I think about it. Putting emissions parts from even if it's a year older, if emission standards change for that engine, and you take an older emission standard part and you put it on a newer engine, I don't think you're supposed to do that. But what I'm getting at is those round EGR coolers were way stronger than the square ones. We rarely ever saw those round ones fail. And the round ones were usually found on the 03 trucks. So let's see. Somebody commented something. Yeah, Jeff Brown. Yeah, the ICP definitely is not a fun thing to do. The IPR also. The IPR, nice thing about the IPR is you can usually take the FICM out and get to it back there. But yeah, the ICP, I made my own little wrench. That way it's short and I can get it on it, and then I can also put the wrench on there and put a pry bar on it, hit it with a hammer to knock it loose. Because yeah, getting a regular wrench up there and breaking it loose, not fun at all. No, that's horrible. A lot of people don't realize it, but this engine, you got to remember, International made the 6.0 engine. International did not intend for this engine to go in something that was buried in the cab like that. You got to think of it. Most Internationals have the tilt nose. And so then you'd go straight up on top of the engine, or you had a ton of room between the cab and the engine. I've worked on the 6.0 or the VT365 in a F650, 750 platform, and it was it was a heck of a lot easier to work on, but you were crawling up and down all the time. You were constantly crawling up and down. You'd roll underneath the truck on a creeper. You didn't need to jack it up or anything. You'd roll underneath of it and you'd sit up. I mean, there's guys on here that work on bigger trucks, and it's just a whole different world. And it was easier to service a lot of parts on that 650, 750 than it was on the 250 to 550. Let's see, anything else? No. Obviously, they updated a lot of the oil rails. Now, what some people don't realize is I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook groups, and people don't realize it. Here on the right, that was the original style standpipe top. And you can see here's the other side of it right here. It was the weirdest design because there was no actual seal at the bottom. It was almost a what's the word I'm looking for? Like not compression, but basically it was two pieces of metal pushing against each other to seal that area. And I'm sorry, but it's a hydraulic oil system. It just doesn't make sense the way somebody designed that. I don't know. That just blew my mind. I get, if you actually see where it's sealing at, that area that was connection was made was actually in the oil rail, and really didn't make it did make a big difference, but it theoretically shouldn't have an issue, but as we know, long term they did. Oh, yep. You're right, not fun taking that 03 ICP out. No, not at all. What else here? Obviously, also I was saying high pressure pump, you cannot swap between trucks. I mean, you can. You can actually swap the aluminum housing high pressure pump the aluminum housing, the smaller pump, was known to be having a high failure rate. You can take that pump out and put in the 05 and newer pump. The problem is you need to change the branch tube. And then you also, when you change the branch tube, you have to change, if you have the single log oil rails, so you have let's see if I can show you. So you have the oil rails where it's just down here, so like that. You need to upgrade to this style which then requires you to get a different rocker box as well. So you have to do quite a bit to change it out, but it can be done. The blocks will accept. I've done it personally for a customer, and you can do it. It is possible. Saw some stuff on injectors. Was that just? I thought I saw something earlier with running changes. No, no injector stuff. Glow plugs. Oh, what's everybody saying? What is a good temperature on the coolant not pulling? What do you mean coolant not pulling? Good temperature on the coolant when you're not towing. So when you don't have I think your thermostat opens at like 185. I don't know. They vary. I'm not afraid to see coolant temps hit 200 in the summer easily. Wintertime, you're going to be a little bit lower. But yeah, even running down the road, if you see 200, don't be afraid. Now, your oil temperature is going to creep up the longer you drive, even with a good oil cooler. I mean, it's pretty weird how they'll a lot of times just creep up, and a lot of people get spooked. The big thing with the oil coolers are if you're under load, even without pulling a truck or a trailer. Say you have an empty bed, it's just you and your wife, you and your kids, and you hit a hill and you pull the hill, and your oil temperature rises. So you see it. Say you're running 200 coolant temp, 215. Let's say 200 coolant temp, 215 oil temp, and you see your oil temp rise to 225. That's okay. Now, when you crest the hill and you continue to cruise and the load is not as heavy, then you go to flat ground and you're cruising along and you see your oil temp come back to 215, that's good. The problem is when your coolant temp, when your oil temp comes down from 225 to 215, that's good. Now, if you go on flat ground and your oil temp holds at 225 and then creeps up a little more, that's when it's a pretty good sign that your oil cooler is starting to have issues. Now, you could have coolant issues, like an overheating issue, and make you think that you have oil cooler issues. You definitely need to make sure your cooling system is working properly. A good indication your cooling system is working properly, if you're trying to figure out if it's an oil cooler or cooling system. If your truck can start up and idle and not overheat, just idling, your cooling system's probably good enough. Now, don't get me wrong, you can overheat running down the road. But a lot of times, if you're going to overheat at idle, then you're going to see higher oil temperatures. And, I've seen a lot of people put oil coolers in because they said, yep, my coolant temp's getting higher because of my oil temp, and they put an oil cooler in and they have something else. They have a water pump acting up, and it's like, well, did you actually ever start this thing up and drive it? You got to always verify the concern. Always test drive the truck. Everything. Well, I get a kick out of the customers that don't want me to drive their vehicles, and I'm just like, if you want me to fix your vehicle correctly, I need to drive it. Now, there's some things that don't need to be done, but you need to drive it and verify the concern. What do we got? I have a pretty much tuned original 03 with 225. EGR cooler has freeze plugs, but I'm trying to find a decent price on a wrecked 6.0 to build. Factory pistons, O-ring, and heads, and no more than Jeff. Your restock pistons bottom end will hold that. I think so. I know people running higher than 500 horse with stock pistons and a stock bottom end easy. I've got an engine back here. I got a mess of stuff, but my engine right here, it has, where's my stuff at? Oh, it's a box underneath there. These are the stock rods. You can see the piles of stuff I got building up here. What is that? Oh, those are cool. that is a cool thing there. I had some stupid expensive rods here. I didn't need to buy those. Okay. This is the stock piston out of that engine. All I had them do is de-lip. Let's try not to break this. So all I did is, if you look here, you can see it's been de-lipped. Let me see if I can get another piston over here. I'm afraid of dropping that thing. But yeah, all they've done is clean them up. I think I even have I have the stock wrist pins in it, which should be fine. Sorry, I had to double check them. But yeah, my machine shop does me good. They, okay. Oh yeah, here's a good piston. I don't know if you guys watched the video. A nail fell in the cylinder on me. Yeah, that was fun. So here you can see it's hard because one's dark and one's clean. But can you see how this one's got a dish to it right in here? And this one does not. That one's smooth. See the lip there? So that de-lipped, yeah, have them. I'd recommend, if you're going to be running long-term power, the high performance aftermarket guys say that de-lipping your piston relieves a lot of stress, especially if you plan on towing, because that's the spot. I don't know if you guys know. So this bowl here, a lot of people just think of it like a valve relief or something. It's not that. Think of it as your combustion chamber, like a gasoline engine. So gasoline engine, a lot of pistons are flat or at least have a valve relief, and your combustion chamber is in your cylinder head. It's usually domed. Think of it like a Hemi, something like that, where you have the, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it's domed. That is the combustion chamber. That's where the combustion happens when the piston comes up. Well, this is the combustion chamber on a diesel. Diesel heads are normally flat. So the fuel sprays in, piston comes up, and I forgot how many degrees at which. Banks has a really good video explaining, I think it's 40 degrees before top dead center when injection starts. You might get some pilot injection before there, but your main injection, I think it's 40 degrees. Basically, you don't want to inject any earlier than that, or you'll start to torch the top of your piston. And so what a lot of people do whenever it's, from what I've understood, is aftermarket tuners to really push power. A lot of them learned over the years, and they have very good tunes out. So don't be afraid buying a tune from a reputable place. This is going to happen. But years ago, when they were pushing high power, they would do earlier injection, and you would then superheat that ridge, that lip, and then that would get hot and cause cracks in a bunch of places, and then cause you issues with your piston. So that is the theory behind that, and I'm sure there's somebody a lot smarter than me that could basically say exactly what they found, because I'm sure they've done testing. Let's see what people. Do you agree stock pistons and bottom end will hold that? Yeah, I think it will. I think 500 horse, because I mean these engines made, what was it, three something stock. So really, theoretically, I'm not gonna say theoretically. These trucks, you could get a 200 horse tune and put it on a stock engine, and as long as you were making good fuel, you had good fuel pressure and stuff, they'd run for a long time like that. So yeah, I think you're fine. But what you may want to do also if you're wanting to push that power and you're going to tow with it, I would highly recommend a regulated return system of some kind. I personally like the XDP kit. It's very simple and it uses your factory lines. There's a couple other companies that make very nice kits and make all the hard lines and everything, but they're pretty high price and they get complicated and you have to tear into the engine further than what you really want to. But if you're going to do a stock bottom end O-ringed heads, I would recommend a regulated return. The XDP works very nice with it. You can use the XDP with the stock pump, and that way you could basically work your way up also. That way you weren't buying a full regulated return and pump and system, because those are pretty pricey. But the XDP kit works really nice. And then you may down the road want to look into upgrading your fuel pump. I don't have any experience yet with using the 6.7 Powerstroke pump on the 6.0s. I plan to actually in my truck we'll see if I ever get around to it. I say yes to too many people about doing work. And so my plan is to use I think it was in 2017, Ford went to a in-tank pump on the 6.7 Powerstroke. Pretty sure it was 17. And I want to take one of those pumps and put it in a 6.0 and then create a filter system to help with that. And I think I'm going to still, at that point, I don't know if I'm going to do an inline pump of any kind, but I'll probably have to, because that'll be a lot of work to push through filters. But the 6.7 Powerstroke does it, so maybe I'll be fine. But that's what I'm going to try to do. What else? Degree-stock pistons. My 04 was fixed by going to an 03 sensor from an 04 sensor. Mike Taylor, your 04 was fixed by going to an 03 sensor. So, okay, you have to be careful there. If your 04 is an early build 04, then it may have used the 03 style sensor. But if your truck is a later 04, it may use the newer style sensor. And there were crossbreed engines that came from the factory. It's weird. Okay, so real quick, Dunbar, you said doing the delipping would be easy. Yeah, you're right. That it would be really easy to do with a lathe. It'd be nice. It is in late 04 wave oil rails, and it fixed. Okay. The only thing I can think of is you have an 03 or early 04 strategy or PCM that may be reading that sensor correctly. That would be what I suspect, because that doesn't, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, if it fixed it, it fixed it. Hey, that's great. But it just doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. But no, hey, the whole goal is to fix it and make sure it runs right and everything's acting good. So no, that's cool that it fixed it. But getting back to the, there were some, I don't know what you call them, just, I say hybrid, but in 04, there were trucks that came from the factory with a aluminum high pressure pump and the wavy or the webbed oil rails under the valve covers. But then there's other times I'd get trucks that would have the iron or the upgraded high pressure pump and would have the single log oil rails. It was weird. It's like they had a bunch of parts sitting around and they're like, crap, we got to use these up. Well, just put them on this engine. That'll work. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for it, but I've seen stuff like that. Yeah, if Tech recommended it and he, hey, I'm just glad it's fixed. It sounds like you have a great guy working or helping you out, keeping your truck running. That's the big thing with these engines that I always recommend to people if they're not local to me. Not saying I'm the best. I know I'm not the best, but my mind's always open to learning new things. And like you just said, it fixed the truck. So if it fixed the truck, why argue? You know, I'm not going to sit here and argue about it and tell you you're wrong, or tell you you're dumb, or tell you that your technician's dumb. That that's it's a slap in the face to you guys and makes me look like an idiot. So no, it's all about fixing the vehicle and getting it back on the road. So most techs, it's all about making money, and it's not about fixing the vehicle. But if you fix the customer's vehicle in a reasonable amount of time, and you fix it honestly, you fix it at a fair price, and you take care of them, and you get them back out on the road, and you're there whenever they call about something else, and you're there for the next time, and they can trust you, you will be so busy, it's unreal. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but it's when I started on my own about a year ago. It was November of last year. It was after I got back from SEMA that was kind of an eye opener, seeing all that stuff there. I went on my own and I was spooked. I mean, I had a customer base already built up from doing side work. I had a lot of customers already, but I didn't have a lot of repeat customers where, you know, every month I saw customers back. And I've built up a customer base now, and I keep getting more customers that recommend me. And it's just because I want to fix their cars. I know that fixing their car will make them happy at a reasonable price. And that's the whole goal. It's most places, they charge a lot and they still can't fix the car. Well, I mean, just put yourself in that position. A lot of people say, well, I don't know if they're treating me right. And it's like, well, shop around a little bit. Ask, call other shops. Ask them what they would charge for a job. Don't tell them your truck's at another shop. Just tell them, hey, I'm having this issue. Is that something you do or something? The sad thing is a lot of shops will jump at 6.0 Powerstrokes because they know they can make a couple $1,000s easy. It's really sad that shops take advantage of that. I'm not saying they're all like that, but even in my area, there's some like that. But just talk to people, get an idea. So, and then that's why I do this too, is I want to help educate people, because the more you educate the customer, the more they know, and then sadly, it's easier to get them to understand a repair, and they're going to go along with it, or they're going to judge whether they even want to put that money into it. Let's see. Yes, it fixed. Aluminum pump, crossover intake, 100 millimeter water pump. It's a mixed up mess in '04. It was an August engine, and the changeover started in June or July. It was a stock 10. Aluminum pump, crossover intake. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the intake. Actually, it's funny that piston that dropped the nail in that cylinder had a crossover intake, and I changed it out because I absolutely hate those, because doing any work to the high pressure pump, you have to, or the IPR or anything, you don't have to, but it makes it a lot easier. And I had a extra intake sitting around, and I was kind of paranoid after that nail fell in, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna replace it. So no, the 10 blade, wow, you said it, what did you say? It was an August engine, and the change was started in June or July. Yeah, that's around the time I think they were building a lot of weird engines, a lot of weird configurations. The 10 blade, it said something in here about the turbo. Let's see if I can find it again. Turbine blades. Turbocharger exhaust turbine wheel. 3 fins have been added to the turbine wheel of the turbocharger. These additional fins were added to the turbine wheel in order to improve the turbocharger's sound characteristics. I was always told it was to help with towing. So they even say right there that it was to help with sound. It's pretty crazy. Then they got rid of the EGR throttle plate. Intake manifold. Yeah, I don't know when this book was. It doesn't say when it was printed. January of 2004 on here, so must have been the start of that year. I think the other guy at work had an early one. Early coffee table book. I'd love to get all the different versions. That way you see everything. Oh, the Econoline. It's going over Econoline E-Series stuff. Ugh. I don't like. I get Econolines. I mean, it's there's a lot of people on social media buying these old ambulances and fixing them up. And they're buying these 6.0s, and it's just those ambulance 6.0s were usually rode hard, put up wet, and they usually went to a shop local to the ambulance district, and the shop did not know how to fix anything, and caused all. I was actually helping a friend of mine that still works at the Ford dealership. Got a hold of me the other day because he was battling an ambulance that had been to another shop several times, and they couldn't get it figured out. Throwing a bunch of parts on it, couldn't fix anything, and he was getting low fuel pressure. I think an injector. Actually, I need to get back with them and find out exactly. But I had stopped by there to buy some parts and checked on them, and he found a bunch of O-ring in the cylinder head that was caught up in the injectors, and so who knows what they had done. I don't know. I thought somebody posted something. I can't think of anything else that changed or basically you cannot swap from the early 6.0 to the later 6.0. I can't think of any. Can you guys think of any? Any questions? I can't think of anything. I'm sure there's something. I think you can swap cam sensor and crank sensor, I believe, is the same. FICM can be swapped. It just needs to be, it may show a VIN mismatch. What else? Turbo. I think that's about it. I think we touched on basically everything I want to touch on. That it's just things I've seen over the years where you try to use a known good part to see if it fixed the truck, because sometimes you can go through diagnosis and it's basically, I don't know if any of you guys, how many of you are technicians, but how many times you go through diagnosis following a manufacturer's following a manufacturer's diagnostic procedure, and you test this, you test that, you're going through everything, and you get to the end and they say replace with known good part. And you're just like, are you serious? I just spent the last hour and a half, 2 hours testing all this stuff, and you're going to tell me to replace with a known good part? That's a bunch of crap. But, I mean, I think they're covering their ass to an extent too, because some of those things, it just has to be done. So, well, nobody's commenting. We're pushing about 45 minutes. Just checking. Anybody else have any other questions? Any other questions? I have a Red Bull fridge with all kinds of stuff in it. I'm on a sparkling water kick. I figure it's better than what's it called? Soda. Even though I got some ginger ale in there. I think I'm getting old. Old people drink ginger ale, right? I don't know. But it's good. Well, I got Canada Dry. I got an assortment from Sam's Club. And there was a ginger ale and lemonade and a ginger ale raspberry lemonade. My wife tried that. She says it tastes like potpourri. And I'm like, you've tasted potpourri? What? She goes, no, I haven't tasted it, but it tastes like it smells. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say that? I'm like, now it sounds like you eat potpourri. What is wrong with you? She just gave me a dirty look. Boy, she's got resting bitch face. She gave me that afterwards. She was not happy. Not happy with that. Well, she really didn't care. We gave each other a lot of crap. But no more questions or comments. What's the deal? Okay. Well, I think I'm going to end it there. I'm going to continue. I need to see if I can get this Ranger fired up and at least moved. I don't have the radiators, anything in it, but I'm going to see if it'll fire. I don't really like doing that, but when you need a vehicle moved, I just got to start it up and back it out, really. Get it out of the shop, get ready for another vehicle. And I'm not going to run it long, so it really won't get hot, and it's cold outside. As you can tell, I'm wearing a beanie. Missouri is not being friendly. It's definitely being Missouri already this time of year. And I don't like cold weather, so I don't really know why I live here. Well, I do know why I live here. I grew up around this area. But it's already, I think it was 50 in the car when I drove down to my shop. And yeah, I'm in a hoodie and beanie and I got a underlayer underneath this already. The wind is the worst. I could take the cool weather, but it's that wind that just, oh God, it just cuts through your coals and kills you. But, okay. No more comments. Mike Taylor was the last one. He said what his engine was. That was I don't know if you guys saw that, aluminum pump, crossover intake, 100 millimeter water pump. And it was, yeah, that's definitely a bastard engine. So, okay, I appreciate you guys watching. I definitely enjoy doing this. I love talking to you guys and sharing information, sharing ideas that I have. I have tons of ideas on the 6.0s, what I'd like to do. And I'd like to, I'd say 2023, I want to definitely spend some time on an idea I have, repairing a system on the 6.0 that is known to be a problem. And I'd like to fix it. I'm not going to say what engine. I'm not saying common rail, converting it to a common rail. But I'd love to fix this problem to where it was easier to fix, but also just it would get rid of the weak points. And I mean, maybe parts that I'd put on or tried to make wouldn't be as strong, but I'd like to try to find a way to fix it. And I don't want to share it because I'm afraid of somebody taking my idea. And not that I had the idea and I need to make the money, but if I'm going to spend the time on it and try to find a fix to it and then maybe market it, I'd like to at least talk to a company that would then buy the idea from me, or I could work with them on partnering with it and basically get a fix, because the 6.0 is making it's already made a comeback, because there's so many people that want a diesel, but they don't want to pay $70,000 for a truck. And I completely understand it. Or pay $40,000 for a truck that's already got over 200,000 miles. 6.7s are crazy right now. You can buy a 6.0 for, I bought one about a month ago. Bought another one. So now I'm on number 2, but I've got like 3 or 4 on the property. So 5. Anyway, I bought another one for me, and it's got I don't know, I may have told you guys this, but I need to make a video on it. Needed to get it up here. It doesn't run. So my goal, I want to take the engine and transmission in that one and get it running, fix the stuff, and then take that engine transmission and put it in my King Ranch, because the truck that it's out of is rusting away pretty bad. I don't even think it has 200,000 miles on it, but it's rusting. I think it's a northern truck, and it's pretty nasty. And I got that truck for pretty dang cheap. But I'd like to go spend some time making videos, fixing problems, basically showing you guys what I do when I get a customer's vehicle in, and how I go about fixing things, you know, diagnosing and repairing. So I want to kind of go over the common problems that we all have. So that we all run into 6.0. But with that, I'd like to basically make a prototype of the parts that I want to fix, and run it on that truck and see if it fixes. Anyway, check one more time on chat. That Mike Taylor was the last one. Thank you guys for watching. Leave me some comments. Something, leave me, I don't know where, I guess on here or something else. I may put a post up. Let me know what nights this works best for you. Is it Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays? I know sometimes I can't always make it because I'm working or something takes longer or something. But definitely let me know what you guys like. Let me know if there's anything you want me to address on the 6.0. Is there something else you want me to address? I have some other ideas for things I'd like to do. I think live streams would be really good for them, because I'd be able to have some interaction with you guys on some of the ideas I have. And I will share that in a later date, but I will see you all later. Thanks for joining in. I really enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.